Oh Lord, you're my everything. Praise waiting for thee, my King, for thou who heareth every prayer. Oh Lord, you're my everything. Praise waiting for thee, my everything. Praise waiting for thee, my everything. Praise waiting for thee, my everything. Oh Lord, you're my everything. What's up, CDP? What's up, Creative Queen? I want to give a shout out to all the March birthdays. Happy birthday to all the Pisces and the Aries in the room. Happy birthday. So you all, it has been an interesting week. I just lost a cousin. Keep my family in prayer. And I just lost a good middle school and high school friend. She was 55 like me, and it's good to see people before they leave. When I was home for Thanksgiving, I had a chance to see my cousin, had a really good conversation, and I had a chance to see my friend. She wasn't doing good then. She was really wanting to go home. So she transitioned today. So just keep my family and my friends in prayer. There's a lot of deaths going on, but at the end of the day, it's just a blessing to be in the land of the living. Just keep those families in prayer because even though, in the Christian context, we know is to die is to live again, uh, you always miss those people who've gone on before. So just keep that family in prayer. But you all, I'm doing really good despite all of that. I'm doing well, and I hope y'all are doing well. Um, I was feeling some kind of way last night. Sometimes you just gotta pull away from the news. Um, you know, it's a lot going on right now, and when you're taking out leaders and things like this, it makes other nations concerned, and it could start something. And people are diplomatic for a reason. So just keep our country in prayer. I'm not going to be going home for the funeral because I have relatives coming to San Antonio um, during that time. Yeah, yeah. I have relatives coming to San Antonio during the time of the memorial service, the homegoing services. So I have reached out to family and friends and to let them know. Yeah, that's one disadvantage of living in another state. You don't have the luxury of just picking up all the time and going home. Had I been living in Florida, without a shadow of a doubt, but because I am in Texas, it makes it a little bit more difficult, and especially when you work. So, good morning, you all. But last night, y'all, I was feeling some kind of way. I watched the news. This man has taken over the country with Israel, um, took out the supreme leader and a lot of their top brass, and I'm like, wow. So I'm seeing this, and then I watched Tyra Banks, and that was a little disturbing. You know, how they exploited those girls. Yes, those girls knew what they were signing up for and all of this. But you got to realize these were young girls, and they used them for pretty much wealth. And it's sad because one of the successful contestants is back working at Walgreens again. So that did something to me. And then old drunk Hershey, Lord Hershey was lit last night. She wanted to tell everybody everything. Ooh, Hershey drunk, and then she was still drinking on top of being drunk. It was a mess. It was a mess last night. It was a mess last night. So I was really feeling some kind of way last night. I really was. And I don't think people know the severity and the gravity of what Israel and the United States has done. I mean, we've had a contentious relationship with Iran from the beginning of them um, not selling their oil to Great Britain and making it a state oil. Then what do? We side with Britain. We prop up the Shah of Iran, and people had freedom in Iran. United States had good diplomatic ties with Iran during the Shah's, reign. I remember all the Iranian students that were coming to the United States for schooling, but then the Shah started becoming a ruthless dictator, and they took him down, and then that's when the religious leaders came in. The United States has a really contentious relationship with Iran, and for us to do this is just crazy. And that's why Obama was really careful with Iran, knowing all of the history behind it. Thank you, Miss Douglas. So for us to go in and do all of this, it's crazy. And then our military is spread thin. You got people in the Caribbean or Venezuela doing the drugs or whatever. And then now you got military in the Middle East. So we need to really be careful. I'm telling you. And when you have relatives and when you have family and friends in the military, it hits different. When you don't have anybody in the military, it is what it is. But I have a nephew who's in the Navy, so that hits different. That hits differently for me. I have friends who I graduated with in college. They're still in the military. I just pray that they retire, but that hits differently. So yeah, but yeah, y'all. I see Lolo was talking about colorism on her channel, and that's a real thing. Um, but once we realize that we are all black and that you know some skin tones get more acceptance than others, but at the end it's still not liked. Let me go into colorism, and I don't know if this is colorism or just racism, but hey, what's up? Thank you so much, Jay Parrish. Yeah, it's a lot going on. But let me say this, you all. So this is what's going on in Texas. We have two qualified candidates, Jasmine Crockett, and I think Talrico is his name. Now, Jasmine has served on the federal level. Talrico, I think that's his name, has served on the state level. Talrico is a middle of the road Democrat. He's a pastor and well spoken. But we know Jasmine Crockett is a firebrand, a fighter of the people, a lawyer who asks those tough questions. And so they're running against each other for the Democratic primary. Now, a lot of people are saying that the Republicans want Jasmine Crockett to win because they think that the conservative Republicans will not vote for her and they will go ahead and vote for a Republican because they do not like her because they think she's radical. So a lot of the Democrats now are looking at Talrico for that matter. So what do you all think about that? What does it come to? Do we have to really vote for who we want and know the person who has experience and do the job, who has done the job, who has fought for the people, even though she is a brown skinned sister, very vocal? Or do we vote for somebody who's in the state house, but we really don't know? And what does that say about us? Do we want to win? Because some people don't think Jasmine Crockett can win. And I just think that's really interesting because it says a lot. It says a lot. What it tells me is that people would rather suffer more under this oppressive regime than have somebody who's going to fight for what they need. But that's what's going on in Texas right now. Now, I voted for Crockett. I was impressed with her when she came to San Antonio, how she met with the people. She's an intelligent, thought-provoking type of woman. She's logical. I like her because she get hood when she needs to. But I like her. But everybody does not like Jasmine Crockett. Now, that's going to be really interesting. Yeah. So I'm waiting for that. I think that's more racism. But let me tell you what the colorism comes in. So do you all remember when Herman Cain was running for president, even though he was a Republican, and somebody said if he was Colin Powell, he would probably win because he's lighter? Now that's colorism right there. So you saying that, and don't get me wrong, I think Colin Powell would have been much better because he was a military man. Colin Powell had more experience. But again, you can't think that dark-skinned men are dumb. And again, sometimes we hear this, and sometimes we think this, but yeah, I'm just saying. Thank you, Jay Parrish. Thank you, Janice. Hey, D. Miss O, how you doing? Now, I do think colorism exists in the beef sector. We've heard people called crispy and tall, I think it's a thing of self-hatred. It's a thing of self-hatred to me because all y'all black, and people will call you the N-word faster than anybody else. Don't ever get that twisted. But we need to stop that. Everybody is beautiful, and I can't understand how people can do this kind of thing and say this kind of thing, and they have all shades of color in their family. That's what get me. You got all shades of blackness in your family, and you do this kind of stuff. Yeah. So my thing is be aware of what you're saying, and because it could be subconsciously eating you away, and this is how people get in trouble. I think that we really need to know that we're all in the same boat. Now, I will say this: when they did that talk on Housewives of the Potomac, it's colorist. We know that Karen Huger and Giselle and Robin are very, very fair, and we notice how they're treated differently than Candace and Wendy when they were on there. And I just think it's really interesting. And Andy seems to be comfortable with them as well. I'm glad that some of the women say, hey, I know that I have privilege because of this. And I think you have to be self-aware. Let me tell you something. We have to be economically self-aware. Just because we can do things, that don't mean everybody else can do things. And coming from a background of low wealth, you are aware. So when I'm doing my trips, I'm not trying to get the most expensive train ride. I'm trying to do things that is going to be beneficial for all. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm trying to make sure that the most people could participate. And sometimes, we talk about, oh, we going on voyage, Virgin Voyage, but everybody can't go on Virgin Voyage. And we got to realize a lot of stuff that we can do, a lot of people can't do. Now, I'm not part of the 1%. So it's a lot of things they can do that I would be like, oh, no, I can't afford that. And I'm not ashamed to say it. And see, that's the whole thing. So we have to be considerate of people. When I did that cruise, we could have went on Royal Caribbean. We could have went on Norwegian. I mean, we could have went on any of those cruises. But in my thought process, and I'm not rehashing the trip, I'm just giving you the logic behind why I did what I did. Me and Vivian were talking, and I'm like, okay, Viv, what do we need to do? I want to make sure that we go on a trip that's going to be fun, but people can afford. And this is going to be a lot of people's first time cruise. And of course, it was going to be Carnival because Carnival is the fun ship at the time. And I knew that people would enjoy it. And we didn't do it because, we was trying to flex. We were doing it because we wanted everybody to be able to participate and everybody to be able to go. I don't care for Carnival's food. I would rather have gone to Royal Caribbean or Celebrity because I know they have better food. But at that time, I had to push that aside and say, what's going to be best? We don't want to have a boring cruise. We want to have black people there. And so we went on Carnival. And I was correct. We were correct. Me and Vivian were correct in our assessment. The people enjoyed it. A lot of the people who were first-time cruisers, they enjoyed it. And a lot of people booked another cruise. So, again, I don't do things to be flexing. I'm like, can everybody afford this? Can everybody come to this if they want to come? Even the train trip, people are like, ooh, that's just the train. Well, a lot of people haven't taken the train. And I think it's an absolute steal when you can get on a train for $19, less than $20, and stay in a nice hotel, which will allow you to stay in a nicer hotel because you spent less money getting there. So you can spend that money on a nice hotel and then to come back. It's an excursion, but it's something. And you should be doing something with your subscribers. And so that's one thing I could do. I'm not worried about a crowd, but my thing is I'm always looking for something that's going to be budget friendly for everyone, but not cheesy, not cheap, but inexpensive. So that's my thought. That's how I think about things. I don't go in thinking who's going to think what, or, no, I'm going in thinking of who can come. Is it going to be safe? Is it going to be beneficial for everybody? Yeah, I've seen people call women monkeys. Now, let me say this. I've called people a lot of stuff, but I know it's unjust. But there are certain things I don't call folks. So, everybody is different. But, I think we have to be conscious. I think during Lent, and I'm so glad that Black History comes in a little bit before Lent. You get to really think about things. I am not eating meat, so and you are more thoughtful. And y'all, let me say this: I like the beef sector. I know what it gives, but I must admit, and I've been in this game for a long time. But I must admit, it does get old. It does get old. My biggest thing is, are you investing in yourself? And I see a lot of people investing in themselves getting ridiculed for trying to advance. And I'm going to tell you all in here, all of the subscribers and the people who are here today, don't let people talk you out of advancing. Don't feel bad because of your achievements. I am learning that when people are always trying to downgrade what you're doing or trying to make your accomplishments insignificant, there's a problem with them. You have to invest in yourself. If you are getting your teeth done, that's investing in yourself. If you're trying to stop smoking and stop trying to drink, you are investing in yourself. You're investing in your health. If you're going to the gym trying to lose weight, you're investing in yourself. If you're going back to school or trying to learn a trade that will benefit you, you're investing in yourself. And one thing is, when you're always on here, you really can't invest in yourself. Now, a lot of people heard me talking about Brianna and they think that's odd. It's not odd. When Demis O had graduated with her master's degree, we celebrated Demis O. And people ridiculed her. They talked about what kind of school she went to. And it's really funny, whether she went to an online university or went to a brick and mortar university, it really doesn't matter. She went and she completed it. And I always find it funny that people who haven't always got something to say. People who've done the work, they know that whether you go in a classroom or online, it is difficult. When you go to school online, you have to read instructions carefully. Anything could deduct points from what you get. You don't have anybody holding your hand. So you really have to be a self-directed learner. You really have to read. You don't have people to talk to and study with. You have to do it yourself. The only thing with online is you have the freedom to study and you're not regimented to certain classes. There are some advantages and disadvantages to all of them. But I think you have to be more disciplined when you take classes online. Yeah. But whether you do it online or on campus, it's still relevant. It still counts. And the government approves it. That's all that matters. I remember you all, I had to teach speech. I taught a speech class online. And a lot of people are like, how do you teach speech online? It's really, really, really interesting. I taught speech online, and the students knew what type of speech they had to do. And once out of the week, I would come on camera, and the students could come on. So it was like a Teams type of thing where I could talk to them and kind of give them clarity on what I was looking for. And the students could do their speech and tape it, but it had to be perfect. And it was harder online because in person, you had grace. But online, it had to be perfect. I was saying that your hands had to be free. I had to see hand gestures. You had to look at the camera. You had to look at your audience. And it was intense. What's up, crazy people? It was intense. And so the speeches that we did on camera, like I would do an interview. I would interview those students and I would look at them. And I'm going to tell you what the advantage was for teaching speech online. Students learned how to be more tech savvy, and they did well on interviews. And a lot of them wrote back to me saying, "Hey, I got a job because I used your techniques. I got a job because I stopped using all the ums and the filler words." And so they would write to me, email me about how the speech class helped them um, in life. My brick and mortar students did well as well. But there's advantages and disadvantages to each one. And I just thought that was very interesting. Um, and they had to rehearse that speech over and over again till they could actually go online and do an impromptu interview or speak impromptu without any mistakes or very minimal mistakes. I'm saying all of this because we always want to trivialize education. And the bottom line is if you have a good instructor, I don't care if they are online or brick and mortar, the instructor will always make a difference. Always make a difference. It's the instructor. So that's my thought about that. But y'all don't let nobody turn you around. I don't know who need to hear this, but a lot of us want to do stuff, but we have self doubt. And my thing is just get into it. Once you're in it, it ain't no turning back. So what I'm going to say is invest in yourself. Stop listening to the naysayers. This is why people really don't bother me on YouTube about what they have to say about me and all of that stuff. That stuff means nothing to me. When you know what you've done, when you know what you do, and when you know who you are, what people say and think about you means nothing. You just it rolls off your back. And in hindsight, because it doesn't affect you, it really affects the other person. And you see how they respond and how they act because you don't always respond in a reactive manner. Sometimes you have to be proactive with people because you know them and you know how they are. Then you have to look at people and say, this person has gone through a lot. This person really takes YouTube seriously. It's not that serious. And when you put that in your mind, then those things don't bother you. And Matt, you are right. And let me say this. I'm not perfect. It's so funny that people always talk about perfection or you think you're better than. And it's really interesting. That's the first thing people say. Why do you say it? Is it how the person carries themselves? Does the person have confidence? Because I've always said I am not perfect. I think that everybody has made choices that they wish they could redo. But thank God my choice or my selections didn't carry me to jail or, a death sentence. I mean, everybody's made mistakes. No one is perfect. I don't care how flawless we think we are. No one is perfect. Never said that. And also, too, I'm not rich. I'm comfortable. I work. I get paid. I pay my bills. And with my discretionary income, after I pulled out what I'm saving, I get what I want. I get exactly what I want. But anything worth having is worth working for. People talk about them degrees. Let me say this, you all. I never forget when I first went to college, I really didn't know what I was going to do. I know what I didn't want to do. I did not want to stay at home. I did not want to work at Kennedy Space Center. Kennedy Space Center to where I live is like Ford and GM for Detroit. I didn't want that. And I'm not saying that's bad because I have friends who work there now. They are doing wonderfully. But to me, it was just a humdrum, go in, clock out, And so I didn't want that. I didn't want to go to college at home. I didn't want to see people from home. I wanted to go somewhere different. So my first stop was in Miami. I know that wasn't gonna work. Miami was a great city, but I knew it wasn't gonna work. So I wound up going to school in Virginia, which was the best thing for me because it taught me how to grow up. Virginia taught me that I am of value. Not to say I never thought I was of value, but when I started playing keyboard and making money and working at the department store and playing, it was phenomenal. And I was taking care of myself, even in college. Diamond Door, I didn't know your main account was blocked. Could you email me at jameslegal1970 at gmail, and I'll do that. But you all, I did that. I worked hard in school. I had somebody told me because I was transferring schools that you ain't gonna ever graduate. I remember that too, and that was a incentive for me to graduate. When I left Florida, people were upset because I didn't go to Bethune-Cookman, I didn't go to Florida State, and I didn't go to Florida A&M. I didn't want to go to school in Florida. And I remember some relatives didn't talk to me for about 2 or 3 months because of my decision. And I told them when I graduate, I'll send the invitations because I was going to graduate. And can I tell you all, getting into the school was easy, but the financial aid issue and being an out-of-state student was extremely hard. I had to go through many tears. But once I got that cap and gown, it was worth it all. And this is why I'm excited for Bree, because when I see Bree with her cap and gown, you tend to think about all of the struggles you went through to get that degree, and it makes it worth it. And then all the people who said you should have stayed in Florida, all of that was worth it. All the friends that I've made, all the good times that I had in college. That's one thing about brick and mortar that I do like. I've gone to school brick and mortar, I've gone to school online, but brick and mortar, you do get a relationship with people. You do have relationships with people, long lasting relationships. I can go to California right now. It's really funny, you all. I have a friend, and she left her civil service job to pursue her dream in the entertainment industry. And it's funny because I was in Las Vegas. Y'all remember when I went to Vegas and DT was trying to find me? Well, my friend from Norfolk State was traveling to California, and she happened to be in Vegas when I was in Vegas. And when I tell you, she came to my room, I ordered dinner, or lunch rather, for us, and we ate, and I gave her encouragement. And not only did she have encouragement, but she had connections in California because we had classmates who went to our school in California who had already set her up with a job. See, that's what black schools do. I'm not saying that PWIs don't do that. And I do think that black people are closely knit at PWIs because they got to have some, solidarity. But at HBCUs, it's tight. It's tight. And when I tell you they had her back, they had her back. I had a friend when I was going through my job transition call me and say, hey, I got a job at this university. And I am, a provost. This is the position. Are you interested? And the only reason why I didn't take it because I didn't want to go out of town. I had my house. But for the mere fact that that person would consider me, that's some big stuff. See, that's what our HBCUs do. That it's deep. It runs deep. We look out for each other. We look out for each other. So, those are my experiences. So when Bree gets her degree, I'm excited for her. Not fake excited, but when you've gone through the process, when you have worked, dealt with professors, written papers, had to take tests, studying, it pays off. And I'm here to say this to Bree. The higher you go, the easier it gets because now you're doing things that you like to do. You're doing research that you want to do. And now your instructors see you as a colleague and not a student. So once you start doing your master's degree and your doctoral programs, it's easier. And also, too, if you have a master's in business, all you got to do to get another master's degree, which is easy, is go into another major, take the 3 classes, because your foundational classes are always going to be foundational. People act like you've been in school forever. No, you don't have to be. MAC, I'm telling you, bunkie time. I truly believe that. And I'm really worried because Russia has been helping Iran. And again, what y'all don't understand is this man with Israel has taken out top leaders. It's like somebody coming to the United States and taking out Trump. You see what I'm saying? That's what he did to Iran. That's what he did to Venezuela. And he didn't even go through Congress. And this is why I think it is treasonous. This is why I think that it's unconstitutional, because you are not a king, and you have an executive branch and a judicial branch that you have to answer to. And no branch is above the other branch. And for him to go do this act of war, because that's what it is, and the Republicans sitting there like, it's great. It's not. You put our people at risk. Anybody who's in a Middle Eastern country right now is at risk. Any American interest in the Middle East right now, you're at risk. I wouldn't want to be in Dubai in the UAE right now. Not when our president just bombed another Middle Eastern country. All right, Fridge Nat. So, yeah, we are in danger. And I think it's a big deal. And let me say this. All of this is because he's trying to stay in office. They're going to try to have a continuation of a Republican administration. And these Epstein files are not going away. Now we know that a lot of these files were withheld. It's still more. And that young lady who said Donald Trump forced her down to his crotch area and she bit it, and he pushed her and kicked her, that's criminal. And why do we believe this? Because he was guilty in the E. Jean Carroll situation. But you all, it is very dangerous for us to do these regime changes. You are taking a sovereign country and doing this. And even though I don't like how Iran runs their country, the people have to rise up. And it's up to the people. But we shouldn't be doing this. I'm just saying. Let me say this. I do not know what's going on with that individual. I don't watch her. Now, I did hear Bree mention that that person was extremely negative because I'm celebrating Bree, but I'm celebrating Bree like I'm celebrating Z Miss O and anybody else who is moving forward. Let me tell you another person who I celebrate, and she's an entrepreneur. I celebrate Hood Table. Hood Table makes beautiful cakes, and I'm celebrating that sister because she got her own business. She has a skill. She has a skill. So why wouldn't I celebrate? We can always celebrate alcoholism. People celebrate uh, debauchery. They celebrate people living on the system. They celebrate drug usage. They celebrate homelessness. They celebrate government assistance. So when somebody is actually doing something, why won't we celebrate that? That's crazy. Why wouldn't we celebrate that? Hood Table is awesome. I love her when she's making her cakes. Hood Table is awesome. And we should celebrate her. But like I said to you all, I have really learned that these people are very negative, and you keep on moving. You know, I understand a little shade and a little light, but these people really have some deep issues going on, and and they want you to respond. I don't have to respond. I know who I am. I know who I am, and I know what I'm capable of doing. I know what I have done, and when you know who you are, all of this foolishness, yeah. But y'all, you let people be who they are. Y'all hold on for a quick minute. I gotta click off for a quick minute. Y'all give me a minute. I'll be right back. All right, you all. Thank you all for holding. A friend of mine his wife just went into the labor, so they're getting ready to have a little baby. There's a lot going on. So a lot going on. Let me say this to you all: invest in yourself. I don't care what people have to say. I wish I can share a lot of things on YouTube, but you can't because people are so diabolical and treacherous and quite miserable. I'm gonna tell you, I knew people really had no ethical values when MU was trying to go to school and they were trying to call a school. I'm like, who does that? Why are you trying to destroy this lady's life? This lady is trying to better herself and invest in herself, and here you all are trying to call her school. Are you serious? So again, that's why I don't share a lot of stuff because it's crazy. But I am constantly investing in me. Most people are thinking about retirement, and I'm not. I've seen people retire and drop dead in 3 months. That ain't my ministry. Now, retirement for me is doing something that I love. But if I want to go to on vacation for 2 weeks, I can do it. And just say, hey, I'm gonna be gone for 2 weeks, and then I'll come back and jump right on into it. I gotta be active. I'm gonna be active in the gym, which I'm doing now, in the community, and working. You gotta have purpose in life. And when it becomes unfun or not fun anymore, I move on. Pastor, they were clowning Bree saying that she could not walk to get her degree. You know what? Her weight did not stop her from getting her education. See, people trying to, even though me and Bree don't always see it for each other, Bree has never been unemployed. Bree has always worked. I don't think Bree has ever, to my knowledge, gotten on welfare or government assistance. I don't ever think Bree, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Bree ever used her weight as a disability so she could get food stamps. I've always seen Bree work. And this ain't J Love Bree, but this is just the truth. And one thing I'm not gonna do is lie about Bree. Now there are some things that Bree have done that may not have put her in the best light, but I'm gonna say Bree don't have no children. Bree don't have no baggage, no record, no criminal record. And Bree can always lose the weight. Hell, I lost the weight. I gained it and I lost it. Weight can be lost. But some of these habits that people have of poverty and low achievement and low standards, some of that can be washed away. So all I'm gonna say is, y'all joking about Bree, but Bree did it. And one thing you can't take away is that education. And one thing you can't say is Bree didn't earn it. Bree earned it. Some people don't even have a high school diploma, much less a college degree, and got so much to say about people. And this is what I'm saying. We got black people here who will sit there and drink until they are in a stupor, drink until they sleep on a camera. I mean, doing all manners of stuff, and we go up for that mess. But when somebody is trying to improve their life, or when somebody is actually doing their thing, we got problems with it. The first thing will come out of our mouth is, you think you better than somebody, or you ain't all that. And that's the first thing we say, because I do think that we like a train wreck, and people who exhibit tenacity and grit in this sector are really not well liked. Like I said, I'm not a Bree fan. And what I mean by that is I don't know Bree personally. Bree could be a nice person personally. I only know Bree on the YouTube. And people may hate my gut on the YouTube. They may hate my guts rather on the YouTube. I'm sure they do. But in real life, Bree done did some real life shit. And see, y'all up there talking about this play mess, pulling up, going to court. Bree did some real grown person shit to get that degree. Ain't working on it, getting ready to complete it. And if you don't think I'm gonna go up for that, even with D Miss O, y'all tried to joke her, but she did something that a lot of people haven't done. Again, you can't drag nobody when you behind them. You got to be in front of somebody to drag them. And some of y'all life choices have put y'all far behind. You can't drag nobody. You can't even drag yourself. And I just think it's really interesting. But look at the people who coming after Bree. I applaud Bi-Nerdy. Bi-Nerdy go to work. Even though Bi-Nerdy don't like Bree. But again, I know it's not because there's some envy. I just think that he just don't like Bree. But I just think it's really silly what we do. That's some real life stuff that she's doing. And Bree is not faking going to an office, and it is what it is. One thing I can say that Kimmy said that she got that Mercedes Benz. Now Kimmy said she couldn't fit in it, but she got it. I ain't never seen Bree with no repossessions, no foreclosures and eviction notices. I ain't never seen Bree with a mugshot. Again, weight can be lost. I mean, I know that's a read because it's an easy read, but when you look deep into it, Bree has a better chance of getting jobs than a whole lot of people. Bree don't have no felonies. Bree can pass a drug test. Bree has a degree. And obviously, if she did not have that college degree, because she was not a felon and she could pass a drug test, she might have been intelligent enough to get a job. And I'm just saying that. And I guess I'm standing up for Bree in real life shit. This YouTube mess don't mean shit. It's the real life stuff that's important. This shit here on YouTube ain't nothing but a show. I come up here to entertain, make the girls laugh, maybe have something thought-provoking. But this is YouTube. What are you doing in real life? What are you doing in real life? What are you doing in real life? What does your life look like off of YouTube? Do you have a relationship with somebody? Do you have friends? Are you investing in yourself? What is your life like on YouTube? Where you living? I mean, what are you doing? I'm being real. Are you happy with what you're doing? So, yeah, we can talk about people, but the real read is, how does it look like when these cameras are off? What are you doing when these cameras are off? What's really going on? All some people do is sit at home and drink. That's all they doing. I don't really follow ZX. I really don't know. I really don't know him. Um, you know, I don't give people access to me who don't like who I am. So I really don't have. Yeah, and let me say this: a lot of these, not all, not all, because heterosexual men who are secure in themselves can celebrate and be around anybody. They're not threatened by anybody's sexuality. They know who they are. Insecure, unstable men are always concerned about other people's relationships. And what really bothers them is when the people who they despise the most may be more successful than they are or have things that they don't. And it really, really bothers them. And then they start equating manhood to sex. And I think that's really interesting because it seems like that's all you have. I don't think it's a flex because a woman bought a television for you. But what are you doing for her? I see things differently. But hey, people do what they want. I see things differently. I really see things differently. And again, this manhood, a man is responsible. That's the first thing. Because as far as my gender is concerned, I am who I am. That will never change. Black man who happens to be same gender loving. That's me. White collar professional. Sexuality don't even come up here, baby. Sexuality is there and it's important, but it don't rule everything. And I don't lead with that. I was listening to them when they were talking about fraternities and sororities. And I thank Ghetto Intellect for coming up. I always ask Ghetto, am I fair in my assessment? Um, but I was just listening to weeding out the weak. And that ain't black. That ain't our culture. We help those who may be weak. And again, you all, it's that mindset. It's that mindset. It's that mindset. And they always want to talk about gay men. And I'm like, well, you must not like your frat brothers then. You may not like your Masonic brothers. I know a lot of gay Masons. They may not tell you, but they definitely are gay. I know a lot of gay Masons and a lot of gay frat boys. And you know what? The sad part about it is I don't even know if I can call them gay. I would call them men sleeping with men because they don't identify with the community. But I do know that they sleep with men. Some of them married. And see, we really got to unravel that because, again, the healthcare community calls them men sleeping with men. They do not classify them as gay men because they do not identify with the community. So a lot of these church men, a lot of these men in prison, a lot of these men who they may not go to a club, they may not go, but they'll go to a football, they'll go to the boys' house for a football game and do what they do. Yeah, it's a lot of men sleeping with men. And I ain't trying to make everybody gay, because everybody isn't. But when you know, you know. And a lot of people are ignorant and they don't know. That's why I always tell these women, don't say what your husband won't do. You really don't know. You really don't know. You'll be surprised what goes on. And it's really, 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 really bad in our religious spaces. It's really, really bad. When I hear a pastor always talking about that, it's a red flag for me, because something's going on. That's just me, though. Bunky, they do it. They'll do it. They'll do it. Let me tell y'all something. I'm telling you, and you'll be surprised. I've had two instances. One shocked me so badly. It was this guy. He was a star college basketball player from Chicago. He was trying to holler at the gym, trying to holler. Baby, I went to church. I usually would go to the 11 o'clock service and not the morning service. I went to that morning service. I had to sing at that morning service. And who comes up? This man, his beautiful, gorgeous wife, and his two gorgeous children, a girl and a boy. And she said, "Oh my God, I really love your singing." And I'm like, "Thank you." And she said, "This is my husband." Now, I'm playing this off. I know her husband, because I know what her husband been trying to do. See, we don't be making shit up. This stuff is real. His wife was gorgeous. I'm talking about Miss Universe contestant gorgeous. They look like church fan. They was giving church fan realness. The family on the church fan, that's what they was giving. The husband was very high profile and had a high ranking job in the school system. What, Bunky? Well, I'm telling you. Now, let me tell you another one that really got me. These athletes are something else. Cam Newton is what he is. He's an interesting person. But I had a friend who lived in Atlanta, and he was always in Cincinnati. He was always in Cincinnati. And one day I'm asking him, "Why are you in Cincinnati?" Because he said, whenever XYZ, he was dating a married Cincinnati Bengals football player. And I'm like, "Well, how did you meet him?" "Through a Dallas Cowboy football player." Baby, y'all just don't know. This Epstein thing ain't only for women. I'm gonna say that. Yeah, it's crazy out there, and I know a lot of people like Jay, no, but it's real. It's real. It's real. And this is why some of the gays be looking at some of these people with the side eye, because we've seen it all, or almost seen it all. We ain't seen everything, but we've seen a lot, from athletes to politicians. We've seen it. And if you look halfway decent with a body, baby, these people will come at you. So we don't make stuff up. We're not trying to make everybody gay. We just have seen how people move. And this is why I truly think sexuality is on the spectrum. Because I do believe that some of these men are attracted to women, but they are definitely attracted to men. I do believe that. There are some men who are not even remotely attracted to a man. Not even remotely. But I do believe it's on the spectrum. That's me. We try to make things so black and white, but there are gray areas. Because if it was black and white, we wouldn't be getting all of this undue attention if it were black and white. And that's just being real. These fraternities, they harbor a lot of the boys. These sororities harbor a lot of girls. I know a lot of lesbian AKAs. And I'm not talking about young ones. I'm talking about people older than I am. I work with one. In my past dealings in education, I worked with somebody. She had 2 sons, and she was married. Women get away with a lot of stuff. But yeah. Darcy, I don't believe everybody is gay either. I know people want me to make everybody, but I don't believe everybody's gay. I know that. I would be silly to think that. But what I would be silly to do is think that these people aren't out there. They are out there. So, yeah. So I go back to say this again, y'all. Invest in yourself. Know who you are. Don't let people shame you for investing in yourself. A lot of people get upset with people investing in themselves because they realize they have wasted time and they have neglected themselves. A lot of people see what you're doing and it's a problem because they realize that they've wasted time. And a lot of people have wasted time. Now, I tell those people you can always change things if you want to. As long as you got breath in your body, you can make changes. But do you want to? So, again, congratulations, Brianna. I don't care what they say about you. Can't walk the stage. Well, if you got to use a hover round to get your degree, it's doing more than a whole lot of people doing on this apparatus right now. Look at the content creators and look what they're doing and how they living. And my thing is, until you start investing in yourself, you don't have room to talk about anybody. So congratulations, Brianna. I will say it again. I'm excited about her getting that cap and gown. That's a very, very important moment. Until you've been there, you won't understand it. Hopefully some people can understand it. But my thing is, until you get there, you won't understand it. But when you are doing those papers, those discussions, doing that research, getting things together, yeah, it takes time, it takes sacrifice. You can't do everything that you want to do. People going out, sometimes you got to stay in because you know you got a paper due. That's commitment. And a lot of jobs look at that because they say, well, you can complete something. Does that make you better than anybody else? No. But you completed something. You've learned other disciplines and yours. Oh my God, those peer-reviewed journals. And some of those things you might not even put in your paper. But baby, when they ask you these questions, you got to quote from what you've read. John John Candy, Miss Cranton talked about self-directed learning. When I was doing self-directed learning and how important self-directed learning is, I was quoting from Malcolm Knowles. He's like the father of self-directed learning. So I had to read a lot of Patricia Cranton and John Candy and Malcolm Knowles books dealing with self-directed learning, and how they say that in the United States we do this rote learning. We really never get high in the high realms of learning because we don't explore. So self-directed learning is, and I use it even in my teaching, even in my management style. You have to research it. And as a facilitator, I tell you, yes, this is good. If I see you veering off of course, I say, well, you may want to consider this way, because you have to learn. You have to learn how to get the research. You have to learn to know, is this a credible source? You have to learn to know, is there any slant or bias? You got to learn that anybody sponsor this research. So if a scientist, if he was sponsored by Reynolds and Reynolds, I know that it may be biased in that. You got to know that. You got to know quantitative and qualitative research methods. I mean, you got to know these things. This is why I always tell people when they want to talk about Bible stuff to me, I'm like, is it in context? And I'm real. I don't look at the Bible Baptist. I don't look at the Bible Kojic. I don't look at the Bible Pentecostal or Catholic. I look at the Bible in context. What did the author really mean? What is the language? What is the language? Who's saying what? What's going on at this time? Because when you really deep, and it's more than surface. It's more than surface. There are some things that I believe that I don't believe no more. I'm like, don't make no sense. But again, that's what we do. Now on YouTube, you can be goofy, you can be silly, you can do all of that stuff, but in real life. So again, I applaud Brianna for her grown real life decision of going to college to have to learn the techniques and do those things. Do you need college to be successful? No, you don't. Do you need college to be a good person? No, you don't. I have friends right now who haven't gone to college and they are successful. But when you stop learning, you stop living. When you stop reading, so that's what I'm trying to get to. So people can say whatever they want about Brianna. Congratulations, Bree. It goes to show you where we are as Black people. We should be upholding people who are getting their education. Living in the USA and dealing with people, we couldn't even learn how to read, y'all. I mean, some people don't read history. They don't know that our ancestors went through hell so we could go to school. And I'm not talking about 18 or 17. I'm talking about 19. In the 20s and 30s, people were working sharecropping jobs. They're still doing that now. I have a friend who taught in Homestead, Florida City, and during certain seasons, her classroom would be almost empty. You know why? Because they were picking peas and strawberries, and when the harvest came, those kids went to work. Child labor is still going on. So can you imagine our people, even during that time, couldn't get an education? They didn't have schools where our folk were. These real situations where people had to walk miles to go to school, these people hungered education so much. Now we can get it, and we treat it like it's nothing. But when you know the history of your people, it was against the law for white people to even teach black people how to read. Why? Because knowledge is power. And if I can keep you ignorant, I can keep you oppressed. That's the bottom line. The same with the vote. So this is why education is important to me. It's deeper than just Jay Wilson. It's deeper than Jay Wilson. But when you realize what your people had to go through, and this is why I tell black people, I'm proud to be black. We're survivors. Do you not know that white people could not plow those fields? Do you know they tried to use Indians and the Indians perished under that oppressive system and under the diseases that were brought? Baby, black people thrived and survived. If it wasn't for black people, South Carolina would have had collapse. We knew how to grow indigo and we knew how to grow and harvest rice because we were doing it already. See, that's what history don't tell you. That's what history don't tell you. They hide anything. During the Gilded Age, there were black millionaires already. But if they showed you the black millionaires in the Gilded Age, then it would blow up the theory that black people are subhuman. But in history, the caterer to the wealthy was a black man. He learned French cuisine, and he was the only one who knew how to do it. He couldn't eat with them white people, even though he had more money than a lot of them that was sitting at the table. But because he was black, he couldn't do that. But they had their own compound. And this is why we got to know history. Baby, we are survivors. This is why our black schools. Okay, you all. I am back. I'm so sorry I had a phone call. Yeah, Fridge. Now, but that's what we gravitate towards when it deals with black excellence, politics. We're not interested in that. We're interested in who's sleeping with who, all of the stuff, and it's sad, but that's what we're interested in. But it's all good. It's all good. Just invest in yourself, people. I don't care where you've been. Invest in yourself. Love you. Love you enough to invest in you. And that's all I'm going to say. I don't hate anybody on this apparatus. I really don't. I don't know these people personally to hate them, but looking at some actions, I would never want to meet them because I think their mindset is they're in a different mindset, y'all. And it's not because you think you're better than people, but yeah, like ZT. You know, people like, oh, you scared of him? No, I wasn't scared of him. But why would I meet him? We have nothing in common. Every time I saw him with somebody, he was trying to do yeah. And then why am I going to bring my loved one around him and risk somebody getting assaulted, risk somebody going to jail? Because these people have no filter. These people have no emotional intelligence. So why even be around them? We've seen those drag out fights that these folk have had. We've seen how these people will put hands on folk. Never had to put a hand on anybody. I don't operate like that. But people who have nothing to lose will cause you to lose everything. And that's why you got to be careful. That's why I was telling Catherine, baby, you don't have to explain everything. Some things you may want to, but once you say it, move on. You don't have to explain everything to these people. Jay, is that an engagement ring you were going to get? No, it could be. If y'all get married, no. No. I could be married now. But yeah, I don't feel that it's necessary to tell people who are really not in my inner circle. YouTube is for entertainment. Oh, what's going on? I see a lot of police. Oh, Jesus, what's going on? Oh, it's a lot of police officers. What's going on here, baby? Ooh, what is going on? Well, look, you all, I'm getting ready to head on out. But thank you all for coming up. Like I said, today I don't have time to be roasting and gagging folks. Today is about truth. Today is about investing in yourself. Today is about, support people who doing something. I'm not saying support nobody or don't, but look at what you're supporting and ask yourself, would I support my son, my nephew, and niece doing this? If you know people gonna get alcohol and drink or get weed, would you do this to your own relative? Is it helping them or hurting them? Now, I told Brianna if she get that wish list within reason, I would get something off her wish list. You know why? Because baby, this girl is trying to invest in herself. It's that simple. People get mad because people give to me. You know why people give to me? Because number one, I'm gonna do what I say. Y'all know I'm about my coin. I've always said it. I'm honest with it. I try to keep it very ethical. And y'all don't see me begging for folks stuff. And it's funny. You always begging. No, I don't. I didn't beg for that printer. I didn't beg for that paper shredder and all of that other stuff. I didn't. People said, well, maybe you need one, and they gave. I got it. I'm getting ready to go to this trip now to Dallas. Baby, the hotel is already paid for. The train trip is already paid for. I don't need no sponsor. Now, if people want to give something, that's totally up to them. And I ain't denying no gift. When Thais sent that $100, people say, watch out, Jay. Because, baby, I don't get caught up in people's foolery. I know Thais was being messy. I knew the assignment. But I ain't returning nobody money. Sure ain't. And it ain't even dry begging. Because at the end of the day, it is what it is. But I do know when y'all give, it does piss people off. Because you know why I know it pisses people off? Because they talk about it. They talk about it. And they get mad about it. And I sit there and laugh. Because ever since after that printer and stuff, I ain't get nothing else. And I'm good with that. But people got mad because of that. They had a mass shooting in Austin last night at a club. Oh my God, really? I got to read about that. Austin is just an hour away from San Antonio. Yeah. And I'm getting really concerned because, y'all, let me tell you something again. Now I am very cautious where I go. In Austin, they're getting ready to have South by Southwest, which is a big music festival. Last time they had a big issue where somebody plowed through a group of people in a car. Got to be very careful. It probably happened on 6th Street in Austin. 6th Street is where all the clubs are. But y'all, like I said, it is what it is. Um, yeah, I don't have to do all of that. It's just funny how people think. But y'all, look, I really gotta go. Angel Fish, I'm gonna check that out. Did you get the hat, JW conductor's hat for fun? You know what? I might wear that outfit. I might wear that outfit on the train. I was smoking. I'm glad you said that, baby. I might wear that little nasty piece of sucker outfit on that train. I'm gonna wear that bad boy. Thank you for letting me know. I think I'm gonna do that. Yeah, a lot of these clubs ain't safe, y'all. Yeah, a lot of these clubs ain't safe. Be careful out there. Well, look, y'all, I gotta go. Thank y'all for coming on. Invest in yourself. Invest in people who are investing in themselves. Invest in people who are trying to make a change. I ain't telling you where to put your money, but think about where you put it. Think about the people and what they putting out all the time. My thing is, I can throw a little shade and be a little messy, but for the most part, y'all know I'm always going to say invest in yourself. Get the education. Do something. Get training. There is free training out there for people. There are programs out there right now. They need to spend money on people. Right now, they don't even have enough people. If you're trying to do something different, HVAC, plumbing, electrician, you don't need, look, you don't need a college degree for that. You don't. But even with that, you got to learn how to read. You got to learn how to communicate with your customer. You may want to take psychology. I'm just saying. A lot of us get oversold in these stores and don't know that they have a technique of doing things. People don't understand that even going into a restaurant and eating, they always give you break. They do this for a reason. I was even looking at the science of buffets and how they get people in. They know that everybody's not gonna eat a lot, but when they do get a big eater, they know that the people who don't eat that much will, baby, they don't serve the most expensive food. They serve things that will last. That's easy. That's why you don't have a waitress anymore at Golden Corral. I mean, I haven't been to Golden Corral in a long time, but the last time I went, baby, you had to do your own stuff. That's it. All the only thing the waitress did was come and pick up the trays. But it's cost cutting. The margins are very thin when it comes to restaurants. That's what they do. Why you think the movie is always showing the popcorn and the sodas doing that? We went to go see Scream and they showed that soda and that popcorn and soda and popcorn. And again, the movie wasn't expensive, but the concessions are. I mean, I'm like, how these movie food stands are more expensive than restaurants? I mean, I'm like, we could have went to Chili's or Applebee's or Cheddar's and got 4 meals, but that's what they do. Baby, at the Golden Corral, they don't even do that. Baby, you got to go and get your own drink. And the silverware is in the little thing, and you just pick up, baby, and then they be expecting a big old tip. And that's another thing, too. I don't do this volunteer tipping. If I am just waiting for my food, why you got a tip up there? Did you go to a table? Did you? I don't play that. I don't play that. I don't play that mess. So anyway, y'all. Look, y'all have a good one. I'm getting ready to head out. Thank you all for coming in. Invest in yourself. Read, learn. Stop. When you stop learning, you stop living. So with that said, y'all be blessed. I'll come back a little later on. Y'all take care. Bye.